Good afternoon, my beautiful people. I'm Shota Deolusegun. In today's video, I'm going to share with you that every object that you see, it's a storytelling formation. So if you don't get to the root of that object, you cannot actually paint the true story. What do I mean by that? When you see an object, for instance, let's say you see somebody like a being. That particular being has an infrared glow of light around himself that your eyes cannot see. So when you now account for that infrared light, and when that is being magnified by the reflection of the light on that particular person, you see that that infrared light is so magnificent that you need to account for it as well. So what do I mean by that? For instance, let's say you want to paint somebody. So now, if you just paint the person as that person is, so you are just looking at the mere physical representation of the person, until you consider and you take into account the emotions of the person, at that point in time, you cannot paint the real story about the person. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to see object as a storytelling formation to tell the full story of any object you want to tell. So basically, when you capture the emotions of the person at that point in time, then you are telling the past story and the future story of that person in that present phase. And by so doing, you are telling the real and the full story of the person. So basically, we need to get to the root deeper than what we can see with our eyes to tell full story. So now, when you see the free fall of the classical gravity, if that is what you are actually considering, you are not capturing the full story of classical gravity. There is a quantum gravity that is so tiny, and that effect of that quantum gravity must as well be considered for you to get the full reality of the old gravity. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to add a new diction to what I'm saying. So basically, there is constant acceleration, which is the phenomenon of what we see when we'll experience the free fall. And so there is I will say there is constant deceleration, which is what we'll experience in the free fall of classical gravity. And there is constant acceleration, which is what we'll experience as quantum gravity. So now the quantum gravity is so tiny, and that tiny difference, that is the breathing of life. That is the difference that we have in the collision of antimatter and matter to give us, the visible objects that we can see in the universe. So basically, we need to get to the root of things to tell the full story. That's what I'm still saying. So now, there is this, for every word you use, there is an inverse version of that word, for that word to be thoroughly used, for that word to have its full story being told. So that is why I like the palindromic poetry. I like it a lot. I love it. When you flip word and you use the original word and the flipped one, you'll be able to see that tiny difference, and you can see the full importance of the word that you are using. So basically, there is more to what we see. So we need to actually travel beyond the limit of what we can see to tell full story, and to get to the bottom and to get the reality of the world. So basically, number is constructing. Numbers deal with construction of dimensions. Words deals with order, formation, and that is why in the usage of words we have syntax, which is the structural formation of the word we want to alter, and then we have semantics, which is the meaning of the words. So basically, when you are working with numbers, then you might just have sophisticated patterns of number to arrive at logical conclusion, and in that case that might not really be the semantic meaning of the numbers that you are using, and that is why there is this incomplete theory that was developed by one particular scientist like that. So there is possibility for us to have incompleteness in mathematical formalism. So then we need to know that light has to do with vision. So the three things must be incorporated in what we're doing: numbers, words, then light, vision. Vision, numbers, words. So now, by applying formula of everything, we are able to have this flipping mechanism for us to have the complete story of the universe. And that tiny, static, and undulating field is the reality of the universe. So now, back to the story of trying to paint somebody that I said the other time. So when you look at the person, if you are merely looking at the physical representation of the person, you have not captured the entirety and the totality of the person. So you need to get the infrared laminated radiation of the person as well. And once you get that, you can get the full story. So basically, we need to dive deep to get all this story. So now, number formalism has its own existence, and it is so profound. So words also, they have their own existence, and we need to know, because number has magnitude at every instantiated point, and so we need to know. So number, we need to treat it as language. So it's so mind-blowing, or yes, mind-blowing to know that words, we can use language to communicate. Even though, let's say, initially, maybe when the world was created, we had one language. But imagine the point where the language of the people, the languages of the people then get spread, or get spread like that we can then use different language to even arrive at same communication, to express the same thing. You understand? So basically, it is very important for us to know, just as we can have different languages explaining or giving us the same meaning, so we can have number when it is thoroughly used to give us reality. And so I was able to see the non-commutative pattern of Dirac matrices in formula of everything, and that asymmetric nature of the universe is so essential that we need to get the right mathematical formalism to express it, and that is what Dirac did by using the Dirac matrices to arrive at a solution that gave us antimatter, the emergence of antimatter. You understand? So now he was trying to capture the reality at the present phase of time peregrination, which is different from what Klein-Gordon did in their own mathematical formalism. They took the square root to arrive at what they arrived at. And there is a problem later in that mathematical formalism, unlike the Dirac mathematical formalism, where we're able to get the actual discovery of antimatter. So, but formula of everything unifies quantum mechanics to classical mechanics, and its application is so broad. And so from there we are able to have the spontaneous annihilation of suspended zeros down to the quantum realm. And so the constant that we have there is something that must be used at classical level to then arrive at quantum level. And so we have the solution in form of, energy density to mass density, and then the tiny difference between mass density to energy density is the emergence of the visible particles that we could see. You understand? So that is formula of everything for you. You can get my research publication on ijser.org. Then you can see how that formula is being derived. It's a powerful formula that you must get. Then don't hesitate to get my books on Amazon. Subscribe to my YouTube channels so you can get to see the videos where I have physical, or where I have visual illustration of what the formula can actually do for us. So basically we now have formula that unifies quantum mechanics to classical mechanics, and that is formula of everything. So reality is far beyond what we can see, and so I just use this video as a brief introduction to that. I'm going to have full video where I'll be able to use time energy wave model to illustrate further, and then use application of formula of everything to illustrate further. Thank you. God bless you.